is hi everybody. You've got your Ghostbusters team. We ain't afraid of no ghosts here.
We ain't afraid of no ghost. We ain't afraid of no ghost.
Oh my god!
But I will run.
Listen, I will run. So there's this thing they say about people of color. We if we see people running, if we hear a loud noise, whatever, we take off first and then we find out later what happened.
Ask questions later. I'm trying to light my sage. That's a good plan. I like your plan.
Why
stick around and ask questions? Just get out.
I'll watch the news to find out what happened.
Yeah, right.
I will.
Or when you stop running, you can ask somebody that stops with you.
Or what
happened? I don't know.
Then we'll be like, so anybody know what's going on up there?
Exactly.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Our Ghostbusting team, Susan Lynn, Ghostbuster 1. She got her promotion. She just doesn't know that she's gotten a raise yet.
I didn't know.
We're still crunching numbers behind the scenes to see how much in our budgets.
We're checking the budget, the Ghostbusters budget. I'm staging all of you guys,
I started off with my protection spray.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got you covered. Don't worry. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. We got it.
Because if you get scared, just run, like I said first, and then watch the replay later. What happened?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said run. Yeah. I'm practicing.
Okay.
Look, Adrian's got some scary stories, so I may run. If the chair is empty, I'm out. I got the sage burning. Don't think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding.
I love this. I love ghost stories. Because I think even from early on, this comes it's in part of my family. I don't know if we just love being scared. I don't know if we love scaring each other. I don't know what it is, but and I think it also comes from just the oral history of ghost stories. We love this stuff. We all day, every day. And so I was like, we need to do a ghost story. Yeah.
How did we even get talking about ghosts? We were talking about chakras and that beautiful chakra video you did. And then somehow we started talking about ghosts and we were just talking away. We forgot all about chakras. So anyway.
We forgot about chakras. We forgot we were recording. We
were having a party,
It was but that's to show how this is a topic. Think about what are they? They're like 8th iteration of Ghost Hunters, like international now. Like this is something that is just a hot topic. And if anybody because it takes this, if you've ever had an experience where you're pretty sure there was something else, it's almost like there's two things. You either run and you never want to deal with it again, or you become obsessed. And I have found with people, there's no in between. What are your thoughts on that?
I ran. Girl, I shut that down for 10 years. 10 years. I was like, oh, no. I got a cross around here somewhere. I'm telling you, right? We're going to get everything going here in a minute. So it's going to be okay.
Oh, gosh. And
I'm gripping the chair. I'm gripping the table.
Thank you so much, Johnny from Terrace Apprentice, for the
Yay.
That generosity be returned to you tenfold. So let's just little housekeeping.
Yeah.
If you get scared, again, you may want to turn it off. Come back.
We're going to surround everybody with healing white light. We're going to have healing white light around everybody. Everybody's protected. We're just joshing, kind of, sort of.
And I got on the gongs before and actually did a ceremony to bless this because I don't want anything coming in my house as I tell the story. So we're all good. Second thing is there's no formal format. I've got a couple. We're just going to chit chat and tell stories because this is great. We're watching the chat. We may get to a couple questions at the end, but this is more of just chit chat and banter for a little while about haints, pools, hobgoblins and spirits. Side note, people have do you know? Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Me, myself, and I, you were so sweet. May that be returned to you immediately. Before I start asking you questions, ma'am, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I mean, I would be here telling boring ass ghost stories by myself.
Well, everything's fun with people, you know what I mean? So, and we have a lot of fun together, so.
We do. Johnny is being petty. Johnny says, I noticed you guys are doing this in the daytime. You're scaredy cats. No. Yes.
I'm scared. I already told you I'm scared. I ain't scared to say I'm scared. No, but we'll, we might do a part 2 or a part 3. And I'm going to throw this at 8. I didn't even mention this to you, but I think next year or as soon as we can, we should fly to New Orleans or Charleston and meet each other and just do some ghost busting.
So, I'm going to accept that challenge. I'm going to raise it.
Oh no. Okay.
So I have a very good friend I went to film school with. His name is Nate Pagara. I can never pronounce his last name. It's very long. Nate owns not only just the #1 ghost tour company in Savannah, Georgia. It's rated in the United States. He drives a convertible hearse through Savannah and tells stories. Here's the thing. Nate was scary as hell in college. He's this big he's 6'5", meaty, and he's a goth dude, like black nails, long hair.
Oh,
he
wow.
wore a top hat. We're like, brother, why are you wearing a top hat? It's 89 degrees in February in Atlanta.
Yeah,
but that's his persona. He's scary in general. I mean, sweet as pie, but like when you walk up to him, you're like, I'm a little scared. So him in a convertible hearse? Oh no, bro. So yes, game accepted.
Game on. Savannah. I love Savannah. I had a really good ghost story happen in Savannah. So I love Savannah.
Well, then let's get started. So tell me, what is your earliest memory of like a ghost encounter, or was it all at one time where you're like, I think there's a ghost, and hey, I can hear it, and hey, did you know, I think I'm a medium, and I'm like 5 years old. Like, what is one of your earliest encounters?
Well, you know what? My earliest encounters were probably when I was around 6 or 7, and I would see things in my room at night in the dark. But the encounter that really made me believe that I'm a medium and that I could see, you might see a ghost, but can you talk to a ghost, right? And talk back and forth. I was with some friends, and I must have been in my 30s, maybe, I don't know. But we had just gone out to dinner, and we came back to this guy's house because he had an old Victorian. It was 100 years old. And we were hanging out like you do outside, talking in the dark, just everybody chatting. And I looked up at this window, and there was a window up at the top that was actually, the light had been turned on. And I saw this woman on a sewing machine. I mean, like, I saw her, like, I'm seeing you, Adrian. And I was like, that's weird. I didn't know they had anybody visiting them. There was just 2 guys that lived there. And so I grabbed one and I said, hey, who's the lady up in the room on the sewing machine? He says, oh, that's our ghost. And I'm like, what are you talking about? About that time, that woman came out of that window, came down into my body, and I felt this insane sadness and just, it was in my body. I mean, literally, like I felt violated. Like I got to get this thing out of me. And I didn't know how to get it out because I've never even, when these things happen to you and you don't know what's happening, you don't know to protect yourself. You don't know to have boundaries, right? So then they were like, oh yeah, she's really spunky. That's the guest bedroom. And we hear the sewing machine every night. And her husband went to sea and never came back and all these things. And, I'm like, well, she got to go. She's got to get out of my body because
she can't. No.
It's one thing to feel like now I can feel it, but it's out here a little bit. It's not in here.
Yeah.
But that scared me so bad. I just shut shop. I'm like, closed.
Is that also when you said, I'm taking this 10 years and I'm going to block this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What made you, was it the fear of I felt her coming into me, or was it like, what caused you to go, you know what? Or was it more of, I think I have this other gift, but I don't know how to use it. I'm scared of it. Like, what caused you to just shut down or shut it out?
You know what? I have a problem with boundaries anyway. You know what? I just didn't understand how. I thought everybody could come in, right? You know, I thought that anybody could just walk in to my body and make me feel what they felt.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that if I opened it, that I could put boundaries up, that I could put, you know, some safe boundaries. I didn't know that. Nobody explained that to me. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so sad too, that we don't have, that this isn't accepted in our society, so that people can go get the advice or get the help that they need. Right. Even though some weird things happened in my family, they were more like stories. They weren't like, when this happens, this is what you should do.
Right. Even it's just because then it's not talked about. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Pistachio. Thank you for the super chat. May that be returned to you immediately. It's just not talked about, because what you're afraid is that if I talk about it, people are going to think I'm nuts, so cuckoo. Or I want to call in this person to kind of help or give me advice, but then am I going to look like one of these crazy people that are on like one of these ghost hunting shows? Like, what's the balance? I wish this was talked about more frequently.
Right. So what was your experience? What was the earliest experience that you had?
From what I actually think I may have blocked it out, because according to my family, it wasn't just pretend friends. Like, I would talk as young as I was, 2-3 years old, and would tell them stories about the things that I encountered in the house. My defining moment where I was like your like holy crap moment was when my parents bought the house that they currently own. It's picture it, Lilburn, Georgia, in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. My parents' house faces, the backyard faces the carving, and the Confederate carving in Stone Mountain. You can see it from my parents' backyard. And then there's
God, I didn't even know that was there. Sorry.
Yeah. And then there's this 1,000,000-year-old oak tree in the back. And so, and then, left out a really crucial moment. Fact, it's across the street from a graveyard. Okay.
Oh, yes. That's
so my parents, you know, I'm the youngest of 4. My parents, and plus I was a senior in high school. So, you know, I'm a latchkey kid. I would be home by myself all the time at odd hours. My bedroom was next to the staircase, and I would hear up and down the staircase. I'd be downstairs, all the toilets upstairs flushed at the same time. And that was also when I could see this young lady. She would walk in and out. I was taking pictures, and there was orbs everywhere. And me trying to explain to my parents, yo, there's something going on.
Oh my God.
Telling me there's something going on. My parents were like, no, whatever. And so that's when I really started going, because then I started putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I loved going on ghost. Couldn't explain why I loved going on ghost tours. And then when I would go on ghost tours, crazy crap would happen, and it would only happen to me. And then at the end, the ghost tour person would be like, yo, I've been doing this tour forever. I've never seen anything like that happen. You must be. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't know what happened. You're just saying that, whatever. And so that was like my junior going in, or senior year of high school, is when I was like,
oh, wow.
Really, really, this isn't just coincidence at this point. And then funny, a couple years later, I'm in college. My mom calls me at 3:00 in the morning screaming. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's full of expletives. Beep, beep, this, and it's beep, 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 house, and beep, beep, and beep, 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 and beep, beep, this, and beep, that. And you need to come get me. And beep. And I'm like, woman, it's 3:00 in the morning, and I'm not driving hours to Atlanta to come get you. Like, what's going on? And I actually went, oh, you saw it, didn't you? And she's like, yeah, I did, because the doors were open. And to this day, my father sleeps with every light in the house on. So that's the scared one, Johnny. every light in the house. And he gets irritated with me because there's something about me when I go back to visit, stuff happens all over again.
Oh.
Yeah. I used to get really bad sleep paralysis at my parents' house too. Really bad.
Oh no, not sleep paralysis.
Yeah, it was awful. So
how did you get yourself out of that? Did you like
I started learning the tricks. And so what you do is when it happens, you have to remind yourself that you were actually asleep, or try to get yourself, you just have to go like, because your body is, I want to fight it. I want to fight and move. And that makes it worse. So you have to succumb to it and just close, and you have to go close your eyes and you start counting 10, 9, 8, and focus on breath. And usually within a couple moments, you come right out of it.
Oh, wow.
And then sometimes you actually do have to pray. And depending on how bad it is, there has been times where I said the power of Christ compels you and gotten out of it.
That's right.
I do lately, the past couple of years, I've done a shamanic sovereignty command. I command sovereignty over my body, mind, spirit, soul, DNA, and sacred space for the highest good. And that usually breaks up everything. Haints, hools, and hobgoblins. They're real people. Yes, they're real, but let's talk about the portrayal of haints, hools, and hobgoblins on TV. What are your thoughts on shows like Ghost Hunters? Like I said, they're on like the 18th version of Ghost Hunters International now, and I'm like, really? But what are your thoughts on those?
I don't even know if I have. I mean, to me, obviously they're making it a little bit more dramatic for TV. I mean, you have to. You can't. Look at us sitting in broad daylight talking about ghosts. You know, we could have done this at midnight with, our phone flashlights on and, the flashlight on the screen. We could have done that. We were too scared. But anyway, but, I think that, at least it gets the word out. At least we're all talking about it more now. You know what I mean? Which I think is really valuable.
Yeah. I have pros. I have mixed feelings about it.
Exactly.
I have very mixed feelings because it does put it in the mainstream. It does put it in the forefront. Now you can talk about an experience. You've got normal, everyday people sharing experiences. The thing, like somebody said, like Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins, it's great, but there's also a show called Ghost Brothers because there's 3 Black guys who go around South Carolina and North Carolina, and they do ghost hunting, and they're over the top, dramatic, hilarious. But at what point does it take away the seriousness of something that's happened? Because not all entities are evil.
No.
So I don't know. Y'all in the chat, what do you guys think? Because I'm just like, that's not ever how it happened to me. But doesn't mean it's not right, or it's just that seems, I don't know.
Yeah, so Debbie is saying, it's good entertainment. That's what I think. It's good entertainment, and then it kind of helps people be aware of it, maybe accept it a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you think we've oversaturated with the ghost shows? Because there's literally 19 of them now. And they play there's a whole channel now. Isn't it like Discovery?
Is there really?
Yeah, that's pretty much all they play now.
A travel channel. I didn't know that.
Old school travel channel. They changed it, and that's pretty much night and day is all ghost stories. Have we oversaturated it? Do you want to see more shows?
Well, you know what? Can't they move on? Let's talk about crossing ghost over, or let's talk about, because I meet ghosts that have. Thank you, AQ.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, ghosts, they have stories, right? I mean, they really have stories. They're people with stories. And I think the stories are fascinating, right? So I think instead of just trying to get somebody on recorder, have a conversation with them. Bring a medium with you.
Speaking of, are you part of a ghost hunting team, or have you ever gone out and professionally ghost hunted outside of what you do, your mediumship work?
Okay, I want to just take a minute and tell you this story because it's crazy. It's really crazy. I bought a new old house. And when I went into this house, I have one dog that really is a spirit dog. If there's regular ghosts don't upset her, but any kind of energy that's a little off, she just freaks out. So she started freaking out every night at 9 p.m. This was in the summer, so it was about dark. And she would pant and just freak out, shake and pant go crazy until midnight. Every night. I couldn't do anything. And I'm embarrassed to admit that it took me a week and a half to realize it was spirit, that it wasn't some other thing, right? I was like, oh, it's spirit. So I finally found out I couldn't find the spirit. I couldn't see the spirit. I couldn't find her. Mm-hmm. So I called everybody. I did everything. I mean, we did a rice blessing, if you've ever heard of that. We did sound healing.
Tell us what a rice blessing is for those who don't know what it is.
Well, I only participated in it. If you know more about it, talk about it. But basically, you know more about it. I mean, I just remember throwing rice everywhere. My neighbor's going, what the hell?
Yeah, I can't think of the history where it's derived, but it's basically the rice helps in two ways, if memory serves. So correct me if this. One, to bring it out, and two, to put it in a containment field, right?
Okay, right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Keep telling, and then I'm sorry, not while you're drinking.
So we tried everything. we tried every kind of. We did rice, we did salt, we did sound. We went through the whole house with a group of us playing every kind of instrument that you could imagine, because sound breaks up energy. So if you ever have a ghost problem, sound is fantastic for that. But I couldn't get rid of it. And so I called, finally a friend of a friend said, call my aunt. She's a recluse in North Carolina, but she'll talk to you, because I told her. So I'm on the phone with her, and she starts telling me, it was like, look, Adrienne, she interviewed ghosts like a detective.
That's amazing.
Like she would just staccato questions. Boom, 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 boom. Is this spirit? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Is this spirit in the house? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Is this spirit a male or female? It's a female. Okay. Where's the spirit now? And then when she said, where's the spirit now? I was standing in the kitchen, and there she appeared right in front of me. And I was like, her name is Shelly. I see her now. I don't know why I couldn't see her before, but she hadn't crossed over. She was a ghost, and she had been stabbed, and she was in the same clothes and everything from the murder. That's how she appeared to me. She had multiple stab wounds, blood, thin girl, she was probably about 18 to 20. She told me her name was Shelly, and she said she needed a ride to the hospital. Oh. So I'm like, okay, so this is what they do, guys. If you can talk to ghosts, a lot of times they don't believe they're dead. And some of them don't believe they're dead, and they want help. They all of them want you to help them, all of them. But she was like, and I happened to be leaving the house, but I wasn't going to the hospital, but I was going within like 10 blocks of the hospital. So I said, well, I'm leaving. You can come with me. She got in my truck. And we drove down, and the whole time I'm talking to her, and I'm like, you just got to get out. You got to cross over. Your family's looking for you. This was the first time I'd ever done any of this. Mm-hmm. So she got out at a corner and said, I'm walking to the hospital. Thanks for the ride. But you know what was upsetting her? My dog was not Shelly, because I came back and the dog was still freaking out. So then I found out that there were 2 ghost wolves in a corner of my house. Now, I had been also to like 3 psychics and mediums by this time. I literally did everything, and people kept seeing something in that corner under the house. They kept seeing, because the house is on 3 foot in the air on blocks. Mm-hmm. And they said it looks like a werewolf. It looks like a boar. They had all these things. Well, then I figured out it was these 2 wolves. Mm-hmm. So I finally called. Their person was a Native American chief. Mm-hmm. And so I called on the other side, but the Native American chief wasn't coming. So he sent his son. The wolves were like, we're not going. That's not our chief. We're not going to him. So finally I got the wolves to go, and my dog totally was fine from that moment on. So I've ghost hunted in my own house.
I have too.
Most of us have. If we're mediums, we find that this is a common thing. So tell me about yours.
I don't like doing it in my own house. It's cute. It's fun and games. I'm actually part of a ghost hunting team. There's
cool.
do it in Georgia. Some of the, great. Well, probably some of these stories can come out in part 2 because they're like crazy stuff that's happened. I normally can walk. So those who don't know when we're talking about helping them cross over, there's a term that's called death walker. We're both death walkers. Not all mediums are death walkers. Some of them can see and go here, but a vast majority of us can help them cross over. Those who want to, though, because some of them don't want to, and you can't force them because in your force, it's that whole contract, and you can't force something that doesn't want to. When I first moved in, I had 2 brothers who were here, and they would always, whenever I throw tarot cards, it was like I had to have a cheat sheet. And I was like, wait a minute, I've been doing this long enough to know. They just didn't like me throwing tarot cards. They thought it was the occult. The ghost? The ghost. They didn't like, and I'm like, do you not know who you are and where you are right now? Pot, meat, kettle.
Oh my God.
And you're messing up my money. This is my business. I don't. I'm a Libra. I'm real nice until you mess with my money. Don't play with my money and my clients. So I got the brother to come down and get the brother, and I got them out. So I was like, okay, cool. And literally you could feel the energy in the house. Completely different. I'm like, okay, great. A week and a half later, she showed up. And I'm like, oh, hell. I could not get her to cross over. Everything I did, every ritual, sitting, the meditation, the gongs, the training, every training I've had as a shaman, I could not get her to cross over. She was stubborn. This is the first time I've actually had to call backup. So I called my friend and I was like, I need your help. And come to find out, she's been here for, centuries. She was waiting for her family and her partner to come. And she's scared. She was scared that if she left, they wouldn't know where to find her.
Yes.
We had to bring the lover and like her mother and somebody else. And this is the first, there was something about when I saw her, because she wouldn't reveal herself to me until my friend helped and we did the ceremony. She scared the shit out of me, and excuse me for cussing, but she scared the literal, I'm pretty sure there was like boo-boo smear on the floor. My bowels evacuated immediately. I was terrified. And I don't think there's only been a couple times I've been honestly scared like that. And that was maybe 2 or 3 times. And that was one where I literally was like, I couldn't even look at her. It was something about, I was just like, I can't. And I almost broke our circle because I was so scared. I was like, and Jody's like, no, come back. You got to stay focused. Like, I don't like her. She's crazy.
So what does she look like? Why couldn't you look at her?
All of her hair was covering her face. So like, not cousin, one of the Addams family, whoever had the hair that went all over their head.
Yeah.
She was looking down. And it was just dark. Her whole aura, her energy was just and it's
You're right.
Scared
Yeah.
And she took my breath. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was scream and evacuate my bowels.
God.
Scream and crap myself. And so
my God.
Cousin Ed.
See, we shouldn't be talking about these scary stories because I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna be turning my shingle down tomorrow. I'm out.
It took a while. We got her out. She tried to come back. I had to remind her that she's good. Had to bring her, but she was Cousin It did not want to leave. She was very persistent. And my friend, Jody Roberts, she's amazing. She's my shaman teacher. She's been doing this for like 40 years. I'm not outing her age. She started when she was 2. Let's put it that way. She's been doing this for decades. And she was like, yeah, that was kind of hard. She was a challenge. Ooh, I earned my money on that one. I was like, dude, and I need to hire a professional cleaner to clean up my boo-boo out of my chair.
Dang. Okay, so wait. So when she appeared, you were in a circle? It was just you and Jody or somebody else?
Me and Jody, we brought in Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael.
Okay.
And actually, we brought them in later because I had to confront her first because she's in my house. I had to get her to leave. And in my safety sphere, and she came up in her safety sphere, I lost it. It was scary. Her energy was so scary and so menacing, but without being, she was very protective. Annette came across as menacing.
Right. She had a lot of energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
She had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And see, that's scary because ghosts don't typically have energy.
Yeah, she had a lot.
They're usually taking your energy.
It scared the hell out of me. She did not. She knew, because she knew she knows who I am. She knows that I would make her go. And I'm like, well, after you showed yourself to me in my house, I gave you every opportunity to leave. I even set a boundary where I said, okay, if you don't want to leave, that's fine. But if you show up, you have to stay on the balcony. You cannot come into my house. And you wouldn't even stay on I set boundaries. You broke every boundary. It's time for your ass to go. You don't have to go over there. Cross over. I think it would be better for you to cross over.
That's
but
right.
you got to get the heck out of here.
That's right. That's right. You don't have to cross over, but you can't be in this house.
What's your wildest story? It could be wildest is happy, wildest isn't scary. I just admitted that I may have boo-booed a little bit on myself.
I think my guides do a good job of not giving me really scary things, because I'm telling you, I would be like, no, Susan Lynn, nothing. I'm not a medium. I'm out. Bye. Bye. So what I was saying earlier was a lot of times I see ghosts and they have stories, right? So there was a really famous story that I did a video on about this ghost in Savannah next to in the Planters Hotel, the Planters Square Hotel.
Yeah.
Right. I was just on vacation and you guys, I honestly block it. Like, I don't walk around with my doors open because there are dead people everywhere. And they want to talk to you.
They're so talkative.
Oh,
they're so talkative. I'm like, shut
up.
They're
so talkative. And they just want you to help them. And oh my God. So yeah, so I usually keep it closed, but I don't know if I was just on vacation mode and I got relaxed. But when I went out of the elevator, of course, this is an old building. And when I left the elevator, I saw this woman in my third eye, this ghost, sashaying down the hallway. I mean, like Greta Garbo or Marilyn Monroe, just beautifully dressed, just sashaying down. And I thought, okay. And I was with a friend who's a medium who swears she's not a medium, but she's actually a really good. People on the other side tell me she's really good while she's giving me a reading, but she doesn't believe she's a medium. But anyway, I said, did you see that? And she said, I think I did see that. I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. So later that night, this woman came in. Her name was Lorna. And she told me this whole story about how she used to be, she was basically a lady of the night, a prostitute. This was I want to say it was in the 1800s or early 1900s, right? I don't know. I can't remember exactly that detail. But so the thing was that she was a kept woman. She became a kept woman because when you walked around the streets of Savannah, all the wives would make fun of her and just, ostracize her. So it was better for her just to stay in her little apartment. Okay. And she had everything delivered to her. It didn't matter. So the guy that kept her was the banker, but she met this other guy who was a young man, a little younger than her, but he had gone off to school and he came back to Savannah, and they started an affair. And they really loved each other, like literally real love. But she could never, he couldn't marry her. I mean, there was no way, right? I mean, he was from this very prestigious family. So when everything went down, she ended up, everybody, she stayed, she didn't cross over. And for me, she told me this whole story, and she told me about how she used to have the whole floor. Mm-hmm. And she said at the end of the floor, there's a door, like a loft. It's like an apartment, I guess, or a room, but it had 180-degree windows of the square. Oh, wow. And that was her favorite place. But she was mad because somebody was in there, now with a desk, an accountant. And I'm like, what's an accountant doing in a hotel? So I went downstairs to the desk and asked them, and they said, yeah, we have an accountant up there because the hotel next door burned down. And this way we rented them that whole room so that they can do the renovation. So later that night, she came back, and I ended up crossing her over. And the person who came to get her was that guy. And it was like Rock Hudson and Marilyn Monroe.
You're like the slow running race.
He was so handsome, and he came through the veil with his arm, and she took it, and out they went. And it gives me chills to this day. It's the best story ever.
Oh my gosh. Whew.
But that's the most, I mean, that's really trippy. I've had, I'm sure you've crossed over a lot of people. And do you normally get their story? Do you talk to them and find out like, what their deal is?
I'm not nice about it, to be frank. I'm not at that time paid to be your therapist.
Yes.
You want therapy sessions. I'm a counselor, so put time on my calendar. My job is to help you cross over. And I set that boundary. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I'll hear enough to know why you're trapped, but my focus is to get you with your family, get you with your loved ones. So I'm not nice. I should probably be, but it's part of how I keep myself shielded and protected to set those boundaries.
I don't think people can understand. It's incessant how much they need your help. I mean, when they come to you, they're like, I had a guy come to me that had been lynched, he said, and he wanted justice. And I was like, well, wait, I went on my computer and I'm looking up lynchings in my town and I can't find any. Of course, I can't find any, but there probably was hundreds. But I told this young man, I said, guy, the best thing you can do is to cross over and jump in a baby body and come back and be an attorney. We still have work to do right now. Come back and run for office, be an attorney, make yourself useful. You're not helping anybody as a ghost. No, I can't help you. I can't give you justice. I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. This is how you can get justice. Come back and get moving. So I mean, it's interesting.
I was going to ask, have you ever had to tell a spirit that you can't help? Have you had to turn down help from the spirit world?
Have to turn them down that I can't help them? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can help you cross over. It's like you said, you have to go to the other side and find somebody they'll meet. Yeah. Because they're not just going to meet anybody. Like I had a young boy that wouldn't cross over because his dad abused him. Well, he didn't want to go over there and meet his dad, right? So I found his best friend, and he had a crush on his best friend's sister. So that actually helped. So his best friend came over and got him and crossed him over. Okay. It's interesting, isn't it?
I had to tell a young lady, no, I can't help you right now. I was walking through Georgetown and I'm with my friend who is not a believer anyway, but she doesn't doubt me because she knows me forever, but she thinks the whole spirit thing is weird. And so she's not quite a believer. But if I believe it, then she believes me. I don't know how to explain it, but she's very like a brain personality. Like that figures doesn't exist. And we were walking, and I told you the story when we were doing the chakra talk. My friend decided to walk into this like old abandoned house that they kept from the period time, and they made it a museum. And as soon as we're walking by it, I'm like, oh God, I want nothing to do with this place. Let's just keep walking. Here's her butt goes, oh, let's go in here. Look. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't. And of course she's in there and I'm waiting for her to come out. I'm texting her. She won't come out. I have to go in and get her. I'm like,
I love it. You're texting her.
Like, hey, I'll be outside. And I kept trying to lie. Like, hey, I'm gonna go look at some shoes. And she's like, you love history. Why aren't you in here? And I like, how do I tell her? Because some Hank's-Fools or hobgoblins are gonna mess with me. And I don't want to, I want to go to dinner. I don't want to ruin my day. And I had to walk in and get her. And I'm dragging my friend out and I'm trying to come up with every excuse. And as soon as we walk out, this young lady comes in. She enters. And she had been real small, in a period clothing, I would say around 1600, late 1600s to late 17th century. She had been raped. She had been beaten. She was a streetwalker as well. She was a prostitute, young girl, couldn't have been any older than like 14, 15. And I'm having a conversation with her in my head, walking down the crowded, busy streets of Georgetown next to my best friend. And I'm like, sweetie, I can't help you right now. I cannot help you because I'm not equipped right now to help you. And she's like, please don't make me go back. And I'm like, I can't make you go back, but there's only so much I can do in my head without saying things out loud and everybody looking at me like I'm nuts. Yeah, I had to, that one was hard. And I've tried to go back since then, subsequently, which sucks, to try to see if I can get her and then see if I can help her now. It's just that was not the time, but I haven't seen her. So hopefully somebody else helped her. Crazy. Somebody else had to help her. As many people come to DC to ghost hunt, somebody got her. Yeah. Somebody got her.
Somebody somewhere.
Do you have a funny ghost hunting story or any kind of ghost encounter? One that you were like, that's like double over laughter, tee hee hee.
Oh my God, I probably do. You go first and I'll try to think of one.
I was trying because I was thinking of something you said earlier made me write it down. And now I'm trying to think of what made me think of this. One that I have is not like the ghost did anything funny, but I was in Charleston. I love Charleston. I want to own.
Oh my God, I love Charleston.
Beach property in the Isle of Palms. I love it. Then you go, down the street and you've got your Gullah Geechee people. I just love the culture and the history, even the bad parts of the history. It's just fascinating. So my parents didn't go on the ghost tour with me, but I went and I'm walking around. And, we started in a square and then we ended and they go, by the time, and they go, and when because they're giving you the lowdown on the tour and they go, but when we end, we're going to end at the most haunted hotel in Charleston. So I'm like, oh, word. Okay. So we're doing our little ghost tours. And we get to the end and it's like, okay. And so they start telling stories and they go, and this is the most haunted hotel. And I go, y'all know y'all bastards stopped in front of the hotel we're staying at, right? The Milk House Hotel is reportedly the most haunted hotel in Charleston. Now,
oh my God.
Had I been in tune with my gifts,
yes,
I immediately thought it was, that explains why it feels creepy. And you know what? There was something upstairs on the second landing. So what ended up happening was I was telling them things that I was experiencing or seeing, and then they would follow up with a ghost story about something that happened, right? And I was like, ain't this about a oh my God. So that was like the funny, because I was like, what are the odds?
What are the odds?
Yeah. So that's like my, I guess, funniest.
I don't know. It's funny, but it's not funny. My dad crossed over. My dad is a practical jokester. So he plays jokes on me all the time. But he went a little too far with this one. And luckily I was wearing the right thing. But I was at this like art festival where you kind of get, you get like food at like a little, whatever. And then you go over and you push the mustard or the ketchup. And my dad told me just before he did it. So I mean, I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
I heard, watch out for and the mustard shot straight out. And luckily I was wearing a leather jacket that was zipped up.
Oh, thank God. So you could
just smear it off of me. But I was like, Dad, that is not funny. I'm always telling him, even when he was alive, I was saying, that is not funny, Dad. That's not funny. So, but to him, it's hilarious. It's like, oh my, and I'm the earnest one of the whole family. I'm the one that's why my dad had so much fun. He could trick me every day because I would believe him.
That reminds me, right when my mom died, I had just started a new job. It was just like the worst. I mean, death is never pleasant timing, but it was just not the greatest timing. And my mom was like my professional coach in ways, and she would teach me how to navigate political situations. And so I was having a really bad day at work. And this was like maybe a couple months after my mom died. My mom knows I hate birds. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Birds are that's just not my peanut butter and jelly. They're pretty in a cage. They're great at the zoo, but pigeons and stuff flying around because they poop. And I've been pooped on more times than I care to share. So I'm just not, that's not my, I'm sorry. I just send the hate mail to redlentilhealing@gmail.com. But so I was just and I was really in my feels and in my thoughts. And I'm just like, and that's not my typical personality. It's just like, let's slide. Then all of a sudden, and I'm wearing a skirt and I hear, wow. And I see this thing over my head, and this bird is chasing me down Midtown Atlanta. And my skirt, and it's windy, and my skirt's flying up. Thank God I had on a good pair of Spanx that day, so all you saw were the Spanx. But if I was feeling cute and feeling myself, either wearing no drawers or some cute drawers, all my business would have been out. And I am running from this bird, and I'm doing this, and then people are like, ha ha!
Oh my God.
The bird flies away, and I hear as clear as day, my mom goes, ha 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 ha. She goes, see, sweetie, you're not worried about work anymore, are you? And I went, you know what? You're right. You're right, Mom. I'm not.
You had a little reset there.
She had to reset me. She got
Don't you say, come on, Mom, you could have like a butterfly, oh, look at the pretty butterfly, but is that going to chase me with a bird?
She chased me with the bird. I was and it had my skirt fly up and everybody could see. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that while you're drinking. All my business out there in the streets of Midtown Atlanta. It's like, oh my gosh. Let's talk about since we're talking about families, family lore. Tell me about some ghost stories that have been passed down in your family. Because every family has a ghost story.
Adrian, not every family has a ghost story. You're talking to comedians here.
Has a ghost story.
But you know what? Isn't it true? Like, when I look back at my childhood and I think, I mean, when the kids would break a lamp, we would all blame it on the ghost. Well, how do we know to do that? Why would they bring up the ghost in this thing, right? Of course, my dad never believed us, but the story in my family that scares the living daylights out of me, and my brother still swears this happened, and I kind of believe him because he's the same brother that was doing crazy things up in his room with calling in spirits and stuff. And he's much older than me. But the story goes that it's pouring down rain. Mm-hmm. It's dark out, of course. And they pull into my driveway, my family, the house where thank you, Celine. I pull into the they pull into the driveway. I don't want to be a part of this. They pull into the driveway. And there's a person standing on the sidewalk. And so they stop right there where the sidewalk is instead of keep going. And when they roll the window down, they look over and it's a person and its person is wearing all black and there's no face. Oh, there's literally no face. I mean, it's not in shadow. There's no face. And the person has a hood on because it's raining. Mm-hmm. So they thought it's somebody, with, like a raincoat with a hood. And they said, we kept leaning out the window to see the face. We couldn't find a face. So guess what happened then? Well, then they pressed on the accelerator and drove into the garage. So you can understand how
did that not make the funniest ghost stories?
You can understand how my dad was like not believing that. It's like, no, that didn't. Nobody was believing this story. That's not happened. But the look on my brother's face, I believe it because the look on his face scared me to death.
Oh my gosh. Oh, side note, before I forget, I don't know if I did this earlier. Thank you so much, Marie Henson and Karen Anderson, for the super chats. May that generosity be returned to you quadruple fold, because I can't remember if I thanked you verbally earlier or not.
I don't know. I think we were talking, and I think maybe we missed somebody else too. But everybody that's done a super chat, thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, holy cow. So here's my challenge to everybody. Your family has ghost stories. Go, and if you're blessed to have family members, especially older family members, even younger ones. Ooh, so that's another scary story I forgot. That are still alive. Capture them. My uncle, my mom's brother, his name is Grady. I was telling Susan earlier, we call him Shady Grady because he's the one in the family who keeps tabs on everybody and keeps up the mess. He also is the keeper of the tale. He remembers our oral family history very well. So his grandparents, my great-grandparents, lived out in the country in Mississippi, out in a place called Phoebe, Mississippi. If you never heard of Phoebe, don't worry about it. Don't look it up. You're not going to find it on the map. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. Okay.
You're not going to find it on the map.
To this day, there's like barely electricity. And when you go out to Phoebe and it gets dark, it's pitch black because there's not a lot out. So my grandfather was in the Korean War. My great grandmother, so his mother, was cooking in the kitchen and she hears a knock at the door. Their house is way up on a hill. So it was a severe thunderstorm because she was in the kitchen to turn off the gas. Because, back in the day, old people, and they're like, you got to go sit in the hallway when there's a thunderstorm because that's what he's doing his work, baby. So she was getting ready to turn something off and go, and she hears a knock at the door. She goes to open the door, and and she sees the silhouette, because it's lightning, of a young man in uniform, and he was decapitated. And she's screaming, senior, because my great grandfather's name was Albacenia, so they called him Senior. So she's like, senior, get here, come here. Oh my God. And this figure is just standing there, decapitated, and lightning's going off, and she's freaking out. My great grandfather walks up and he sees him too. And he goes, boy, who are you? Man, tell me yourself. Who are you? And he does an about face and he walks away. And it's corroborated because both of them were there. Both of them saw it. I've also heard the story told by both of them. But it's scarier when Grady tells it because he's got the great pause for dramatic effect. So my great grandmother is freaking out because she's like, oh my God, was that what was that? Was that because she's thinking, oh my God, was that my grandfather's dead spirit? Was her child killed in Korea? Because she was a very spiritual woman. She believed in ghosts and the higher and the messages. The next day she gets a letter from my grandfather. Peep this. The letter says, hey, Mom, Dad, doing great. I'm writing, though, because his really good friend who grew up down the street, he had just gotten killed a couple days before and was decapitated. And he was asking my great grandmother, my grandfather to go check on the family. Because by the time they got the letter, it would be around the time that they would have found out that he was.
Gosh. Wow.
So it was his spirit coming.
Spirit came.
Yeah. The next day is when they got the letter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thanks, Desiree, for the super chats.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's what's interesting about that though, Adrian, too, is that both of them saw him. So they were both mediums.
It's funny, as I was telling the story, because I process things differently. So I never thought about it. I was like, so I'm wondering on this side of the family, does it go back to her? And where I put the connection to is it had to have been even before her, because for her to believe so deeply that had to have been instilled and ingrained in her.
That's right.
Because she immediately saw the spirit and thought, is this? Yes, it's for real. I'm not going crazy. And is this my son coming to show himself to me? Has he been killed? So to be able to put all those pieces together, you would have already had to have that.
For sure.
Have that.
For sure. And to be able to see it. I mean, honestly, if you're seeing spirit, you're a medium.
Some way to perform, or to see it that clearly. And
to see it that clearly.
I think my niece is.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if she still has it, because I'm solely convinced that all children have it, because we are the innocent until we either choose to embrace it or we choose to forget it. This is another one where I think I made pee-pee. I didn't boo-boo on myself this time, but I made a little bit of pee-pee. Just a little bit of pee. A little bit came out. I was babysitting my niece. She was 3. I was at my sister's house. My brother-in-law's brother died in a car accident many years ago. Very tragic. He was trying to surprise his family to come home from spring break early. It was raining. Didn't see the tree in the middle of the road until the last minute. Hit it, died, and Quentin was killed instantly. To date, the saddest funeral I've ever been to. I didn't even cry at my mother's funeral, and I doubled over and lost it at Quentin's funeral. So sad. Thank you, Carmela, for the super chat. Thank you so much. So I go to wake up my niece and I'm like, hey, baby, get up. Good morning. And she had she used to have the picture of Quentin next to her bed. And she woke up and she said, good morning. And she goes, this is Uncle Quentin. And I'm like, hell, I know who Quentin is. Yeah. I mean, yes, sweetie. And she goes, he's standing right there. And she pointed over my shoulder. I may have left her. I don't remember what happened. I may have taken off running. That scared. First, it scared me. Number one, because I was like, she sees him clearly. Number two, she pointed over my shoulder. He was right behind me. Number three, I was also offended because I'm like, I'm sorry. You don't think I can take care of our niece? You had to come check on me to take care of our niece. He was right though, because I was real sleepy that day and I barely remember to take it. But that's beside the point. He had right to the playing fire and some things he should have done. But that scared and I was like, holy crap, that scared me. And I've always wondered if she still has it, if she let it go. And I tried to kind of nonchalantly kind of bring some things up to see if she still has it or if she's embraced it. I'm willing to bet her mom is. So I'm willing to bet her mom probably passed it down, and if she hasn't embraced it now, hopefully she will again one day.
But her mom, is that your sister?
That's my sister. Yeah.
And so you got mediums all through your family.
Both sides of the family.
And that's unusual, right? Because usually I find that it tracks on one side. Mm-hmm. I've not really met very many people that it tracks on both sides.
My dad has, there's a Dave Chappelle skit that's where Paul Mooney played, he called it Negrodamus because he played the Black Nostradamus. We call my dad Negrodamus because my dad can't, and my dad's accuracy is usually within 2 weeks. It is freakish.
Wow.
He called me. I was in his house. It would have maybe let's just say he called me June, and he called me randomly on a Saturday morning, and he was channeling. I didn't realize it then. I just thought he was having an old man moment, and he's like, "Hey, how's everything in DC?" And I'm like, "It's DC, but we're COVID. What you talking about?" And he goes, "Okay," and he said, "I'll never forget." He said, "Keep your head on a swivel, watch your front and your back." And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? So I pull out my tarot cards. I'm like, what is my daddy talking about? He's seeing something. What's going on? And I kid you not, it was like a week and a half later, George Floyd was killed and everything blew up across the country. We had all the protests and the counter protests with the police bombing and, tear gassing innocent. It was wild. And it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And he told me, watch your front and your back, keep your head on a swivel. And I called him back days later. I'm like, Dad, remember to give me that advice? He goes, I did? I was like, oh, Forrest Gump. Yes, you did. What did you trying to tell me? He's like, oh, I don't remember. I was like, oh, for crying out loud.
But do you remember your sessions? Do we talk about this? Because when I give sessions like readings, I don't remember them because I step to the side, my consciousness steps to the side so that spirit can just come through. So we don't remember. Just like, I'm sure he doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember. He had no idea. He was like, I did. I was like, yeah, Dad. Thanks for being ambiguous.
Y'all need a TV show. Your family needs a TV show. The whole dang family's mediums.
We would be canceled within the first 2 episodes because of too much cussing, too much. It would just be,
be a lot of beeps and bleeps.
Lots of beeps, and then nobody would know what was going on. And so they would have to cancel it. Marie says, my son comes as a thought, but rubs my head at night if I'm stressed. That's awesome.
Oh,
wow. And nobody should ever have to experience the loss of a child.
No.
What about you? What about are there other mediums in your family? Do you think you passed this on through generations?
Well, it's interesting. My mom passed away when I was 7. So I don't have a lot of information about her side of the family. My dad never remarried, but I know that this all came from her side of the family. But I don't know anybody, so I'm kind of like just out there other than that one brother that saw the faceless person. I don't really have any way to track it down. So it's interesting.
I think it's always interesting. What are some, because I asked if you did ghost hunting as part of a team, how do you use your mediumship gifts with clients? Like, what are some of the things that you offer? How do you help clients?
So I help clients talk to their loved ones on the other side. Mm-hmm. So, if, like a lot of the people in chat are amazing. They're all talking about having had spiritual experiences, and with her having her son come to her, and that's just beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't have that ability. And one of the things I like to do is help people understand how their relatives are coming to them. Like I had a reading where I told the mom, so you think that you think your daughter is sending you butterflies, mm-hmm. but she's sending you cardinals. She doesn't like butterflies. Mm-hmm. She wants to send you cardinals. And the woman freaked out because that very day, a few hours earlier, a cardinal had come to her kitchen window and would not stop pecking, to the degree that she took 5 pictures while the cardinal was pecking and texted them to me.
Wow.
But listen to this. So meanwhile, then the next thing the daughter says is, this woman, she's a trip. This spirit is really a trip. Her dad lives in Florida, and she was telling me she did something about a snake with her dad. So I'm thinking he probably saw a snake, or, that's what usually happens is you might see a rabbit or something that's out of the ordinary. If a rabbit hops up to your front door, or, maybe in your driveway, and that's out of the ordinary, that's usually spirit, right? So whenever an animal acts out of the ordinary, it's not acting of its own accord. Right. That girl put a snake in that man's mailbox. He opened up the mailbox and there was a snake in there, and that happened the day before. So, not that I want my clients to have, snakes in their mailboxes, but what I want is for you to understand that, your family is still very much with you. They love you. They're sending you messages. And some of the ways in which they may send you messages are, through smelling perfume or cigarette smoke or turning the lights off and on. They all have a different thing they like to do. Like some of them really like electronics, others like nature, you know what I mean? So it's really interesting.
Or have a bird chase you down the streets of Midtown Atlanta so your dress flies up and shows your underoos to everybody.
Or have mustard squirt out at you on your leather jacket.
Thank goodness it was a leather jacket that was zipped up.
I was able to clean it off and just keep on going. But, to his defense, he's like, I was warning you that it was stuck in there. Watch out.
Late, but okay.
So yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. And there's a lot of healing, as you know, that can happen, from communication with the other side. Sometimes we don't get a chance to say everything we want to say, or sometimes we have a question about things, Yep.
I can attest to this. I swear by it. My mom suffered from narcissistic personality disorder. So there was a lot of emotional issues growing up. And again, when you have narcissistic personality disorder, is a mental illness. It's classified, yes, people, as a mental illness. So she was not aware of it until she died. And the best gift that could have ever happened was me being a psychic medium, because my mom and I healed so much of our relationship after she passed away.
That's beautiful.
And now when I grieve and I mourn her, I think if I did not have this ability, I don't know if I would have grieved her the way or mourned the way, because I would have been so traumatized still by the hurts. But we healed and worked through that. And it's just very interesting. And I'm just like, that's a really good thing. Hey, spirit. Yes, I know I signed this contract and agreed to come down this way, but thank you, because you knew that I was going to lose my mom at a younger age, and we weren't going to work through things and we were able to work through them. So yes, you're absolutely right. It can be I can personally attest to, it was healing for me. Very healing. I have one last question for you. Ghostbuster #pound #1. Okay. So I'm going to act like I'm somebody off the streets. And I'm like, oh my God, listen. I need your help. You're a psychic medium. Or you're a Ghostbuster. I see you're a Ghostbuster. Listen. I think there's ghosts in my house. What advice, what do you tell people who think there's something, an entity, a ghost, a spirit in their house? What advice do you give to them?
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways you can handle that, right? So if you just sense that somebody's in your house and it doesn't really bother you, then maybe it doesn't bother you. But if it bothers a family member or it bothers a pet, then you really need to do something about it. Like I know in some situations, your roommate or your kids or your husband, they're like, I don't like that room. I won't go in that room. But maybe I could because the ghost likes me. You know what I mean? You really have to do something at that point. So I think, it's like Adrian said earlier. I mean, you have to have boundaries, So yeah. I think for me, the easiest thing to do is I talk to them, and you can talk to them too. And you can say, you have to go. I don't want you here. You could say that the only energies in this house are for my highest good. Right. And you're not, of my highest good, your vibration is too low and you have to go. And I don't, it's like you said, I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. Right. So, that's number one. Number two, you could always call in Archangel Michael. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be Catholic. Archangel Michael is the archangel with the sword. And I call in Archangel Michael all the time, and I visualize, I see him in my mind's eye coming in to my house or wherever I'm at and rousting him up, maybe putting him in a net or using his sword, whatever works for you. But it helps you to visualize them being removed, right? That adds extra to it. And then if you really get into a bind and nothing, Adrian can attest to this because she had that experience, right? Where you can't get rid of them. I find music is really important. Sound is really important. I had a client once who wouldn't go in his second bathroom. He is an engineer and his wife is a PhD, but they would not go in this bathroom. Wow. They could not. And I went to his house and I couldn't go in it either. But so what we came up with, the thing that Spirit told me to do was for him to get a water fountain, a tabletop water fountain.
This water is huge.
And so, of course he got one immediately, but his wife hated that thing. She hated it. It made her pee all the time. She's like, and then I can't go to that bathroom and I have to go to the bathroom downstairs. And, she counted the days. Like she would text me all the time. Is it gone? Can I get rid of it? And it took a while. I mean, this was a pretty staunch ghost. And I think it took a month. But we finally got rid of it. And she said, come get this thing. I'm giving it back to you. I don't ever want to see it again. I'm afraid he'll use it again. But it worked. But it worked. So what do you think, Adrian? What are your
gosh. Yes, I'm a psychic medium, but I'm a thoughts-based person first. I cannot change my genetics and who I am. So my first thing is I always go, let's note the trends. Because it really could just be faulty wiring. It really could just be
that's true.
Somebody in your family is messing with you. And note, I was like, let's do an exercise. Note what happens when you think, what are the occurrences? Is there a pattern? And then most importantly, then I bring in the emotions. What do you feel? What do you sense? What do you smell? When something happens, because what I want to do is go, because two things are going to happen. They're either going to go, you know what, there wasn't anything. Maybe this is coincidence. You're going to go, no, really, there is something. Because that's usually where I want people to go. Because first thing people do is go, I think there's something, but I think I'm crazy. No, you're not crazy. There's most likely something's there. So I want to help get you to that point where you trust and believe that there is something there. Then we just, like you said, it's like, okay, does it bother you? Is it disturbing things in your family? Do you notice your energy levels going up and down and crazy? Because if it is, that's impacting your energy. So what you need to do, then we talk about the next steps. You may be able to remove it yourself. And then I go through the list that you went. Okay, if that didn't work, then you're going to need to bring in a professional. And I actually have started over the years writing a list of people who I think, because there's a lot of cuckoo crazies out there, I'm going to be very honest, who just want money. They're going to bring in this little crazy flute. And the only thing they're doing is probably bringing in more haints, hools, and hobgoblins, and you just paid them $750.
Yikes.
So give them a list of, if you don't feel comfortable or you don't think you can do it yourself, here's a list of people who can help. They can do it virtually, or if you're willing to pay a good grip on airfare to bring them out, they can do it personally. And we go from there. Because what I don't want, I was told years ago that like attracts like, and that's not true at all. So I spent a good period of my life thinking that just because I'm higher vibrational, I'm only going to attract higher vibrational. And that's complete fallacy. So I always so protective of the people to make sure that they're shielded and protected first and foremost before they try to do anything to try to remove it themselves. Because if you don't know what you're doing, that can just invite more energy that you don't need because you're trying to get that thing. It doesn't have to go cross over, but it's got to get the heck up out of your house. And that's the goal. And how do we do it safely? That's my.
And I think you're such a good teacher because I love the way you help people. Like, what do you feel? Right. I mean, I think that's so important. What do you feel? What are you smelling? What are you experiencing? Because if they can learn these things, then the next time they have a problem, they can maybe take care of a few of them on their own, right? And not have to call somebody until, they get something that's much bigger.
I just don't want, always I'm like, do better for others than people have done for you. Like, I don't want people walking around thinking they're crazy or being afraid in their house when they don't have to. And the big thing is if it's not messing with your energy and you feel you're pretty even keel, you may not, just leave it alone.
Right.
It'll eventually get pretty bored of you. It'll get bored of you and your family changing your underwear and eating macaroni and cheese every Wednesday. It's gonna get bored. Right. Energy does not dissipate; it just transfers. So that's it. Oh my gosh, chatters! Did you enjoy the ghost stories? There's like a million more. I know both of us have that we didn't even. I feel like. Tell me. I feel like we didn't even chip the surface.
Probably not. No. But that's why we're going to do another one.
We're going to do another one. I see a good question in the chat. I do want to bring up. Debbie asks, is it okay to put protection around family without their permission? Can we put protection around other people without their permission? Shaman Adrian says no, because you're violating their contract. You
even are not for protection, huh?
Even for protection, you are violating their sacred space, their contract. You're not allowed to do it. That's the shaman answer. Adrian, the human being, says, isn't a prayer the same as putting out positive energy? So why can't you put out a prayer that says, I really hope that this person is protected and safe? And isn't that kind of the same way of sending that energy without actually putting them in that sphere, without violating their contract, without violating their, because that's what shamanism says. You cannot do it without their permission. Same thing with Reiki. You cannot perform or heal somebody without their permission.
Right. But you know what's interesting when you're talking, if I send energy, white light energy, healing energy out to someone in my family, and they don't resonate with that, then they won't take it anyway.
Exactly.
So if they're resonating with it, then they'll accept it. Because if they're not resonating with it, they see it actually as an attack. You know
and
what I
then
mean?
they try to send some bad energy back to you. That's why you always have to have that permission, that contract.
Yeah.
Very good point, Susan. Very good point. Yeah. So do you
wants to know, what if it's your kids? Like what does the shaman practice say about, if they're under 18, if they're in,
especially if they're children, we don't mess with children.
Your own children?
No, because we also have to think of it too. This is where the psychology comes in. Am I really doing it because I want, as a mother and a loving mother, I want to protect them? Or there's still this little small, I want them to do something because I think it's better for them.
Oh, it's manipulation.
And so that's why none of us are Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was Mother Teresa, and even she had flaws. Even she went out into the world and did good because she wanted it, thought it would be a better place.
Right.
So we have to check our intentions by what we do. And I don't have children, so I can't imagine how difficult it is watching somebody that came out of your womb doing some craziness and you want to protect them. But again, that's the shaman answer. The Adrian answer is prayers, when they're sent with the best intention,
they work.
Mm-hmm.
They work.
Yeah. You're like checking, you do it like, because I'm like, where did that question come from? You are nailing this, Susan. Thank you for helping me watch the chat. Like, that was a really good question. Yeah, it's I get yelled at from my shaman guides all the time. You cannot do it without their permission. I'm like, oh, you're right. Okay.
Your shaman guides or your shaman humans?
All of the above. I have a guide. His name is Featherhook. And he fusses at me quite often.
Oh, girl, don't even get me started.
Usually for not living up to my potential. But yes, he fusses at me quite often.
Wow.
So Featherhook, and then my actual shaman teachers here on Earth in human form. So yeah, that's a big one. What else? I think I'm also read that people say we need to do this again. So yes, we will definitely do part 2.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any quick questions? Do you want to take a few questions?
Since we were already answering them, let's open up. Let's do 4 minutes. However many questions we can get in 4 minutes. Speed questions. Liza brought up a good point, and I always tell people this. I have had to train people this. She says, I do not like people praying for me. Their intention is not necessarily what I want. Let me take a step further. Their intention may not always be for your highest good. Mm-hmm. Their intention may be what they want. Mm-hmm. I get really irritated when people, especially on social, put out a blanket, pray for my cousin, y'all. What are we praying for your cousin? You need to, because it's the same thing as when you're trying to manifest. You have to be Spirit doesn't know ambiguity. Spirit only knows specific, direct, measurable. Think of Spirit as a SMART goal. Do you have thoughts on that, ma'am? About
me? Yeah. I've lately, they've been showing me Spirit as like a Google search, right? If you ask a really broad question, you're going to get millions of responses, right? So it's just too broad. And people say, well, I talk to my spirit guides, but they never talk back. I'm like, well, it's probably the question is too broad, or it's a complicated answer. They're not going to give you a 5-part, answer. They're going to give you a pretty small answer, especially if you don't do this all the time.
Do you know how much energy it takes for a spirit to show up, give an answer, do something in some form that is relatable to we humans? It takes a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. Really good question we just got is I'm going to ask you this question, Ms. Susan Lynn. Have you ever met a dark entity?
I have. That's what's interesting. Not everybody believes, and I think that's what Adrian was talking about earlier, that we're taught like attracts light. But I think dark entities are attracted to our light. I think they're attracted to light workers, meaning you too. Everybody watching this, we're all light workers.
Yes.
So they're attracted to us for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And you have to, you know what? I'll give you guys a quick thing. I've had some really dark energies come my way. And I just got to the point where instead of doing all this stuff with Archangel Michael and all this stuff, you know what? I just got tired. And I said, you know what? If this is my day to go, this is my day to go. If you're here to take me, then go on and take me. I know where I'm going. I'm going to the light. I'm ready to go. I know where I'm going. I'm confident. I'm going into the light. And you know what? They disappear like that.
They sure do.
They disappear. They're here to scare you.
Yep.
So if they can scare you, that's how they feed. That's how they exist, is fear. So once you tell them, I'm going to the light, do what you got to do. We're going, I got places to be, make it fast.
Yep. That is so true.
And then they just disappear.
They feed off of that fear frequency. And I was thinking back when you asked me, how do I get out of sleep paralysis? Breathing, because what I have to do is remind myself that I am safe. Because the longer you stay into fear, I'm freaking out. Oh my God. I hear my mouth going, but my nothing's moving. That's the longer you're going to stay into it, because it's that fear frequency. Remind yourself, I am safe. I am calm. Regain control by just breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out 4. Next thing you know, you'll open your eyes and you can move your fingers because you've pushed that energy out. You've reclaimed yourself because they love that darkness.
That is scary that happens to you.
It used to happen all the time. Oh, my dad's house. And I have to do a lot of prayers. It used to happen all the time. My last year I lived with my parents before going to college. It was awful. And I had it happen in DC. I think we talked about the story last time when before I moved to DC, I was up here for business trip looking at houses. And I stayed in a very haunted hotel, and it happened at the hotel, and it scared the holy mess out of me. We'll tell that story in part 2.
I know Terry has asked this quick question twice about, do you hear people talking when you're in a sleep paralysis?
I hear everything going on around me. So if the TV's on, I hear the TV. If it is, I don't hear people talking.
You don't hear spirit.
Mm-mm.
Terry, do you hear spirit? Because you've asked that twice. I don't know if Terry is experiencing that in a different way.
Tell us, Terry. Throw it in the chat.
Come back, Terry.
Come back, Terry. Trust Leches, yes, that sleep paralysis is no joke.
I have never experienced it.
It's not fun. Hold on a sec. I saw another question while we're waiting on Terry to answer.
Oh, she could hear someone talking. Is that someone? Not Simone, probably. Oh, wow. You could hear someone talking. No, that is not cool.
That's not so. Is it happening often, Terry? First of all, does it still happen?
Oh, Billie Eilish has a video song. Wow. Oh, it's still, thank God.
Thank God
it's not happening.
I was about to fly to your house. I wasn't even going to charge you for this one, honey. It's going to be like the power of Christ compels you. Get out of here.
Oh, it was when her son was a baby. Okay. That's even worse. Like you got a baby and somebody's attacking you and you've got to protect your baby. Oh, no.
You know what? My sister had this. She said, because my sister's very, very clairvoyant. My sister, who's the mother of the niece who saw my brother-in-law, she said that when she could never figure out if it was just sleep deprivation or true entities, not necessarily negative entities, and evil entities would always go tell her to check on my niece. And as soon as she would get up, Lillian would had put herself in this weird position that could have caused her to have SIDS or something like that.
Oh, wow.
She had it several times, go check on Lillian, go check on Lillian. And she would wake her up out of a deep sleep, or one time she said it was kind of like a sleep, but she couldn't figure out, was it just, sleep deprivation, or was that actual spirit?
Wow.
Sleep tonight. How do I keep my dreams pleasant? Set a safety sphere before you go to bed. And I actually negotiate. I'm not good at doing this, but I try to negotiate with my guides and with spirit, especially if I had a very rough day. I say, you know what? Y'all know me. It's been a bad day and I really need sleeps, good quality sleeps. So can y'all leave me alone tonight? And be very specific. I want deep, restful sleep tonight. Therefore, I'm setting my safety sphere. So while I sleep, starting from the east, the north, the south, and the west, I'm setting my safety sphere. And I'm bringing in peaceful sleep. And hopefully that will help you, ma'am. What advice do you have, Susan?
I would just add to that if you're waking up like at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning, or you know what I mean, if you're just waking up at odd times, oftentimes that's because they're trying to communicate to you and they can't get in during the day. I always use the analogy of a freeway, and if the cars are bumper to bumper, your guides can't merge. They can't get the message to you. So if that's happening, try meditating before you go to sleep and say, send me whatever you're going to send it to me now so that I can get the message you need me to get. And then let me go to sleep. Let me sleep in my sleep, because I need that rest.
In my sleeps. Like Michael Jackson said, I needs my rest.
Yeah, I mean, for real.
Sleeps. There's a question. Somebody said, yes, Desiree, I promise you, this is what made me actually start bottling this and selling it. I was going through, especially during Mercury retrograde, I was having a really difficult time. I dream all the time, every night, but it's always intensified with the Mercury retrograde. And I started spraying the protection spray, just 2 sprays over my bed, over my pillow before I went to sleep during retrograde, and it calmed it down. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to bottle this, because if it's working for my crazy ass, it may help somebody else.
So we can get that on your website?
On the website, yes, ma'am. We had a really good question too. Somebody said, so let's do some either proving or debunking, Susan. Somebody just asked, I heard if I come home late at night, I bring home evil spirits with me. Is that true? Or if you come home late at night, you can bring home evil spirits with you. Is that true?
Well, I don't know about Adrian, but you can bring home spirits anytime, day or night. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what. Now let's say this. If you're coming from a bar, bars, not to say I haven't been to bars, I'm a tequila drinker. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Yes.
But bars are low vibration. So you're gonna maybe pick up some kind of thing from a bar, but you can pick up stuff from anywhere,
any time of day,
anytime, and you will.
Yep.
You will.
I have a couple rules. After, you would have thought I would have developed this rule like 20 years ago during the prime of my ghost hunting and ghost experience days. It was actually it makes sense. Once I became a trained shaman, and once them haints mess with me in that hotel room, there's a couple things I noticed and I stopped doing. When I travel, whenever I'm not sleeping, whenever I'm not falling asleep in my sacred space, I cannot drink. I will not have any alcohol because it lowers my vibration and it allows something to come in.
That's true.
First thing I have to do, I have to anoint that space. It could be as simple as I'm clapping and singing on all the corners of the room. I'm doing something to clear that space because I was accidentally lowering my vibration and letting things come mess with me because I was not protecting myself like I should have. So it doesn't matter. It could be day or night. Just set your sphere, keep it going.
And you could be, and I often wonder about all the people that walk around that have no idea that they have attachments, energy attachments, or hitchhikers or ghosts or whatever, because some of those things will literally wear you down. They'll wear your energy down. If you've ever had a situation where you just over a period of a year just gotten so tired and just blah, and just, you're not yourself and you don't know why. That was probably an attachment or some sort of ghost that's using your energy.
Yep. Who likes to antique? Anybody like to go to thrifting and Goodwill?
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay. Spirit energy can also attach to inanimate objects.
Those scare me.
So I got real depressed when I learned that happened, because I'm like, oh my God, does this mean I can't Goodwill anymore? I love antiquing. No, it just means you need to bless it, sage it, spray it, and just cleanse it before you bring it into your house. Leave it in the garage, sage it. If you don't like sage, the smell of smoky sage. There's other things you could do, but just cleanse it somehow before you bring it into your house. Start anew. I know people who do it with anything that comes to their house. One of my Reiki teachers, she even does that with her groceries.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's not a bad idea.
She does, Shokugure and Soho Kai does a treatment on her groceries and then brings them into her house and eats before she eats. And I was like, is that going too far? But I was like, no, that's actually a good idea. Yeah.
Everything is vibration. Everything has a vibration with it.
Yeah. So this has been good. I thought we were going to tell more. I mean, we told a lot of ghost stories, but I feel like we also did some teaching. I feel like it was multi-purpose.
Yes. 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 I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. Everybody in the chat has had experiences. I can tell you that right now. Y'all could be telling ghost stories yourselves. Yes. Yeah. See that right there? When your son went into the antique store, I have my best friends. They're like brothers to me, literally. And they have an antique store. And, I go in there all the time because, I'm just hanging out with them or whatever. And on occasion, I'll be like, go to the counter. I'll be like, this is a problem. You know what I mean? I can't fix it. I'm like, we need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the kind of getting rid of it when you have to put it in a trash can at an intersection. So the energy, you know what I mean? The intersections have, energy. So the thing can't,
Yeah.
I mean, don't just throw it in the river. That's not, you got to really be intentional about it.
Very
you have a problem.
Yeah. Woo, that gave me chills.
Yeah, because I've been like, by holding it like this is not good. Thankfully, it's never been anything expensive because I think if it was, they would be like, sorry, it's staying, But a lot of times it's been clothes.
Okay.
Like a hat,
a
cane, little small stuff. Isn't that funny?
Hat doesn't surprise me because that's your crown chakra. So if it's sitting on somebody's crown chakra, and a cane, think about it. They're touching the cane, leaning on it to support it, which goes down to Mama Earth.
Mama Earth, yep. One of the first times this ever happened to me, this is what happens, guys. We're lucky we have these channels now, all these people out here that are our community. But, when I was in college, I went to this city that's really hippie and cool. And I bought this little clay thing. And now I know I was drawn to it because there was a freaking energy in it. But at the time, I just thought, I don't know why I'm drawn to this. I got that into my apartment. And I was like, in the middle of the night, I was like, something's in here, and this was way before I had any idea about any of this. I found that thing and I put it on the back porch. And I thought, I'm just going to leave it out there. And I felt so bad. Like a week later, some friends came by and they took it. They were like, oh, she's throwing this out. I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, go throw it in the trash can.
That was the worst thing ever. The entity in there was bad.
It's almost the clay thing, Chucky. Had Chucky's energy.
For real, yes. Like I thought this thing is going to get out of this thing and go into me, or get out of this thing and go into something else. Like it had the ability to move.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're going to leave you with that note. So you can.
I know, right? I know.
Rack list to go buy anything or do anything. Susan Lynn Psychic Medium, thank you just so much. And thank you for being Ghostbuster #1. We will do this again in a couple weeks, guys, because I can talk about ghost stories all day, every day. I love this stuff. So Susan Lynn, thank you so much. Thank you guys in the chats. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you guys for watching. We will put up a notification plenty of time to let you guys know when we're doing the next one. Until the next time, though, what do I always say? Take care of yourselves first and foremost. Then and only then can you take care of your friends and family, so we can all collectively take care of Mama Earth, because she needs it now. All right. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, guys.